Are you saying you faked with me?
Yeah.
I just had sex, and it felt so good.
Wrong. Now you're single.
What do you know about sexual relations?
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
I'm a little worried about being a slut.
You're listening to the Come With Us podcast, presented by Darling Way, talking the good, the kinky, and the ugly. Here are your hosts, Beth, Aaron, and Tina.
Hello, hello, all you sexy holes and poles. Welcome to Come With Us podcast. This is an incredibly special, naughty, sexy, fun conversation because Aaron, Tina, and I are actually in a swingers club. Oh my, oh my. We are here with John and Jackie Melfi. John, who calls himself the King of Swing. Oh my goodness, they are the owners of ColetteClubs.com, and also you can find them at openlove101.com. They are, in fact, the king and queen of swinging because not only do they do, but they're willing to talk about it and share, and they're so freaking smart and nice about it. I know this will be a conversation you'll absolutely want, whether you've ever thought about being a swinger or not. I'm Beth Darling, sexy genius, dean of sexyedschool.com, where smart, successful, and even spiritual people go for their graduate degree in love. It's my sexy pleasure to be here with y'all, and welcome to all about what it's like to be a swinger, to live it and do it. Thanks so much, Tina and Aaron, for being here with me.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't going to come as a shock to any of our listeners. No shit. I don't know what I'm talking about here, so I'm just going to treat this like class. I'm going to sit back and actually pay attention for once, unlike I did
notes.
in school. Yeah, kind of.
But that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I like to learn about everything, so I'll actually sit back and listen now.
Yeah, I would say this is also something I don't have like a ton of experience with, although, you know, you see it. I think it's becoming more and more mainstream, so I think this is a really important thing to talk about. We haven't really dove deep into it yet, so it's pretty exciting to have two, I would say, experts, people who've been in the lifestyle for a long time, who know it, you know, come on the show. So it's really exciting.
Cool. Well, welcome, Jackie and John. Thank you so much for being here with us.
And thanks for having us, Beth.
Yeah, we can't wait.
So I love that you guys are so open, right? You're a lot like me. You don't just preach it. You share your own experience and your journey. And I know that I've now known you several years. I can't imagine how many questions, if I had to tally up all the different questions I've asked you in the past. And it is amazing because I don't think you've ever said, no, I don't want to talk about that to me.
No, we're pretty open about, because it's information, right? Most people, if you're asking a question, it's because you're interested and you want to know the answer. So, yeah.
And maybe some people ask questions because they want, I don't know, because for not such great reasons. But I like that you have that same approach. You're just going to be you, and that's wonderful. So I just want our listeners to know that one of the things that I made sure to tell you in advance, and I want to absolutely for you to stick with, if we ask something in a way that you don't actually want to answer or anything, please just always feel free to say no. That's the first rule of being here with us, because we can ask and dive into anything. All right? Y'all good with that?
Sounds great.
This is like being on an airplane when they tell you, okay, are you okay with sitting in an exit row? And I want the verbal agreement, right? Okay. All right. So how about, just to get us started, if you guys could each, because you didn't discover swinging together, I think, but if maybe each of you would just give us a brief introduction to how you came into this swinging lifestyle and what swinging is to you.
Yeah, so for me, I've always been open-minded. I didn't really label it as anything. I didn't find out till later in life that there was a word for what I was doing. So even when I was 17, 18 years old, I was involved in threesomes, 19 and 20, group sex, and to me it was just fun. Okay,
I don't understand. Like, I never saw anybody doing threesomes or group sex, and I'm in my mid-50s. You're similarly aged, right? How, at that age, did you find people doing that?
My first threesome, I just moved from the town where Jackie and I grew up together, Wichita, Kansas, and that's where her and I first met, was in high school.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
And I had just moved at 18 to Tampa, Florida, and the first night there, I went to a nightclub. I was out there dancing with a couple different girls that were roommates, And one of the girls asked me, she said, my roommate doesn't ever want to do anything with me, so I'd like you to take me home, and then we'll see about getting her in join in with us. And so I was like, okay, you don't have to twist my arm. I mean, it really blew me away that I was being asked to do that. And so that was my first threesome. It worked out just fine.
Oh my gosh. And that was when the light went on. You were like, okay, this is for me.
I didn't really think anything about it. I just thought, this is what life is about, going out and having fun. And there weren't any, no one was afraid to say what they wanted or do what they wanted to do. And my sexual life progressed like that. I never really questioned anything. I just did it.
Wow.
I mean, what 18-year-old's going to turn that down?
That's right.
Like, what 18-year-old is going to hear from two hot girls, hey, I want to bang you, but my roommate might want to eventually. She's just kind of shy. Like, what 18-year-old guy in the world is ever going to turn that down?
I don't know. You think you would have been... You're so conservative. Yeah, you think you would have said yes?
I mean... I probably would have said yes, but I would have, again, the whole stage fright thing, I would have gotten back there and like all of a sudden like butterflies and all that stuff, and I've been like, oh shit, what did I talk myself in? It's like when your friends tell you, hey, we're going to go do something stupid like skydive or something like that, and at first you're like, oh fuck yeah, this is cool, and then all of a sudden you think about it for a second and your brain kicks in again and blood gets back to your brain and you go, oh, what the fuck was I thinking about doing this? Like, I am not equipped to handle it. To me, it would be like, hey, tomorrow you're going to go perform surgery on, the King of England. And you go, okay, yeah, sure. And then you get there and you go, oh, fuck, I am underqualified. I don't even have the equipment that you need to get you through this. Nope, I'm out.
Okay, so now you have to look at John with a whole new level of respect that at 18 or 19 years old that he could do it and follow through. Yeah?
I already respected him to begin with, but holy shit. Like, he likes to be called the King of Swinging. I might actually bring him a fucking crown.
That's awesome.
Jesus.
That's awesome. Okay. So did you ever try the monogamy thing, John, or was that just not in the cards for you?
No, I mean, throughout my adult life, I definitely had relationships that were monogamous, and I didn't label myself as, I guess I would say I was open-minded, even when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then when I found out about, there was a thing called swinging, which involved me meeting some friends in Amsterdam, and they took me to a club. I didn't know what kind of club it was, and we got there, and it was a swingers club, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? And that was in the mid-90s. So to go from 1982 until the mid-90s, and that whole time I'm calling myself just open-minded. I never had heard the word swinger before.
Yeah. Until
this trip to Europe. And from that point on, I understood what I was. I still don't like that term swinger, though. I mean, it's really kind of a broad umbrella for many other things. I mean...
Right. Okay. Well, tell us first, what do you think swinging, if you were to define swinging for our audience, how would you define it?
Narrowly, I would think a swinger couple is a couple that likes to play with another couple. And so they may soft swap, where they might just play next to each other and just touch and feel and kiss, but there wouldn't be any penetration with the other couple.
Okay, that's the soft swap.
Yeah,
is if there's no penetration.
That's right. And then full swap, they're penetrating each other's wives. That's really, I think, what people think of swinging as.
Okay, and that used to be called wife swapping.
Yeah.
Forever ago. That's how it kind of started, the vernacular. All right, now swinging. Okay. So that's a more very narrow focus and broader version of swinging?
I think people that are into having threesomes, so maybe a couple likes to have threesomes with a guy or threesomes with a girl, I would put that under the same umbrella.
Okay. All right, so I think maybe the way I think of swinging is that it is perhaps people having sexy connections without necessarily having the romantic and emotional connections.
I would say that's right, yes.
Okay.
So for your definition of swinging, the more traditional one, it involves two people, like a couple. It would involve a couple switching with another couple in some way.
Yes.
But then, what if it's just like a single? Like where do single people who aren't coupled up fit into this lifestyle?
So that's what I'm saying. I think my definition today would be even threesomes. So if you wanted to hook up with Jackie and I, you could consider yourself a swinger at that point because you're playing with other couples. So yeah.
Okay. So maybe the baseline between basically just fucking around and swinging is that in swinging there might be a primary relationship to start with, and other people may come and go.
Yeah, and I think so. If I was single and dating multiple people,
Yeah.
I mean, back when I was younger, I did that all the time. That wasn't
Right.
labeled anything. I just was dating. Today, I would probably tell somebody, I'm in an open relationship. Maybe this person I'm dating is a little bit more serious, but we're a little more loosey-goosey and friends with benefits. I mean, there's all kinds of things that happen today
Yeah.
that people label. Back then, we didn't label them.
I love now everything's on a spectrum, which is good because really there is very little that is truly black and white. There's so many shades of gray in there on everything, and that includes our sexy activity.
Yeah, I like it the old way.
Yeah.
So you said you moved to Tampa, and how, when you were living in Tampa, did you kind of get here? Like, what brought you to what happened, transpired there that got you more into this lifestyle, got you very involved, and then making it start turning into a business?
So I was working in advertising in my late 20s, and I wore a suspended suit, and at that time I had a part in my hair and a company car. I mean, I had a really great gig going on there, and then I'd gotten sober.
Oh, that's big. Wow.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
it was huge. Yeah, and at that time it became more and more difficult for me to sell because the drinking and the drugs kind of went hand in hand with me selling advertising. And when I got sober, which was really important to me to stay sober, it became more and more difficult and caused me more and more anxiety, and I really hated my job. So I took a job moonlighting as security with someone that I studied martial arts with at his club. It was a concert venue. So I started working security there, and I loved it. But I was only making $5.50 an hour. And we would get into fights in there. It was a really rowdy crowd sometimes, some of these concerts, and my hair would get pulled. So I cut my hair like you're seeing it now. I shaved it all off. My day job told me, you got to grow a part back in your hair.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I thought so too. So I talked to my sponsor in AA about it, and he said, John, you got to, do what you feel is right in your gut. And so the following week, before I went to work on Sunday, I shaved my head, pierced my ears, took one of my suits, I cut off the bottom, make them into shorts, put on some combat boots and a bandit shirt, and I went and I gave him my car keys.
Oh, that's hysterical.
And I went from that 50, 60 grand a year to $5.50 an hour, and I was never happier. So that's how I got in the nightclub business.
Wow. Okay, so I love that as part of your journey to healthy, happy sobriety, you found swinger lifestyle and clubs. Because again, people, and I was like this, I thought I was open-minded, but I had so limited exposure to anything that I would have sworn that people in the swinging lifestyle were not really healthy and happy and sober. And it's just not true, right? It's incredible that you can do this and have so much strength inside and out.
Yeah, and at the time when I started working in a nightclub, the people in my sobriety groups, they didn't encourage it. But my sponsor said, if you built a good foundation with sobriety, you can do anything you want to do in life. And so that's when I made that decision to do it, because I have never had a desire to drink since I worked the steps and became sober. So I've been in the nightclub business ever since. And I never thought that that was going to be my career, but it just happened. It became a career. And I ended up moving from Tampa to Atlanta. To answer your question, I moved to Atlanta, and I opened my own nightclub there. That's when I went to Amsterdam, saw the swingers clubs, and I'm like, I'm going to try this at my club. And so we had essentially a sexual night. We called it Kama Sutra. People would come in. We laid mattresses down. We'd lock the doors because I had a liquor license, so we really shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff. And people would start having sex with other people that were in the club. It was awesome.
I love that. Okay, well, we're going to do a whole nother episode where we really dive into the clubs and what it's like and how people can go and the etiquette that they could expect and everything. Because I think as a newbie, coming into a club can be very intimidating. And so I think that'll be really helpful. So, but right now I want to come back to then personally, how did you then begin associating or identifying as a swinger? How did you basically rule out monogamous relationships for yourself? And then I want to ask Jackie kind of how her journey came and meshed with yours.
Yeah, sure. So when I opened my first true swingers club, it was in Tampa, Florida. And I met a girl at that time, and her and I started running that club. She started working there. We were dating. And so that's really where my more open relationship started. We were seeing each other, but we were having sex with other people as well. So it wasn't anything we really thought much about, but we were in the club anyway. So it was just a natural progression to go from having sex with each other to having sex in the club with other people. And back then, we used to have sex in the clubs. Today, we don't do it anymore. It's just changed. Our business has changed and grown since Jackie and I have been together. But back then, definitely, that's what happened. And I realized that's who I was. I was really more of an open-minded sexual being, and it was really difficult for me to stay just to have sex with one person.
May I ask what your childhood was like? Did you grow up in a liberal, open-minded household, or was it more conservative? Would you say that this is something that people you grew up with would be okay with, hearing about?
Yeah, I mean, so my stepdad was alive when I started opening the clubs, and he was a very conservative businessman, and he loved the idea and the concept. Now,
that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. And my mom, the same. They're Kansas people are generally pretty conservative, so they were conservative people, but they really thought it was interesting. So much so my mom called me at one time to ask me about this couple. Asked them over, and she thinks they were asking over to have a threesome. What should she do? And I'm like, go for it, Mom.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did she?
That I don't know. She never told me.
Okay, there are boundaries, I suppose. Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, so then, Jackie, how about you? How did you kind of find this this lifestyle, if you will?
Well, I found the lifestyle through John, because, like John said, we grew up in Kansas, and I grew up in that stereotypical, very conservative, very religious household. I mean, that was my MO for 4 decades, right? That was kind of what I followed.
That's amazing. And you were married during that time?
I was married twice I got married at 18 and was in that marriage for 10 or 11 years. And then I got straight into another marriage and was in that one for 17.
Oh my goodness.
And so I was outside of my second divorce. And at that point I was like, okay, so like my picker's broken or something. Maybe I just don't know how to do this monogamous relationship. Even though I was monogamous in those relationships, it felt like something was missing, but I didn't know what that was, right? I just thought it meant there was something wrong with me. There just must be something wrong with me. Just because of like the desires that I would have. And I was like, I thought, once I got married, I was supposed to be gloriously happy, and this person was supposed to be providing everything that I wanted, and I'm supposed to just be, in awe of who they were, and
sexually satisfied from that one
sexually
person.
satisfied. Yeah, absolutely, all of that stuff. And when that wasn't happening, I'm like, well, what the heck? Like, where's this fairy tale thing that everybody was preaching to me for all these years that was supposed to be there, and now it's not there? So again, it was very self-deflating. A lot of there must be something wrong with you. So here I am.
It's not like any kid grows up with this idea. Like, hey, you might have desires that require more than one person to fill, right? That doesn't even cross your mind.
Yeah, well, and again, I was raised in an environment where sex was important, right? But it was important from the standpoint that you needed to make sure that your husband was satisfied.
Oh, so it was all your obligation. Yes. Oh, I like that.
Orgasm. Yeah. What?
Wait, women have orgasms? Have we missed something?
And so I was, there were a lot of aspects of my marriage that I was very disengaged from because I couldn't connect with it. I didn't know what to connect it to. I couldn't figure out. So here I am outside my second divorce, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to be single. That's obviously what's meant for me. I'm just going to kind of nestle into this single kind of life, which was the first time, here I was at 48. The last time I was single, I was 18. I'd spent my entire life either living with somebody. It was either my parents, or then it was my first husband, and then it was my second husband, and then all of a sudden I was like by myself. Well, I wasn't by myself. I had my youngest daughter still.
So how long were you with your first husband before y'all got married?
7 months.
Okay, so you were 18. At least single at 18,
yeah,
but not living like
by
an adult.
19.
Yeah.
4 kids by the time I was 24.
Okay.
And then I had another one when I was 30. So
I love that we both have 5 kids, by the way.
Right. Yeah, so there was a lot
unique.
of yeah. So I, like I said, I went from living at home with mom and dad, where mom was doing everything, which is just how it's to me having to do everything, and so then John and I we reconnected because we were getting ready for our 30-year high school reunion. And so there were a lot of classmates that were reconnecting on Facebook, and everybody was kind of wondering if everybody else was going to the reunion and blah, 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 blah. And he had a picture on his Facebook, and I liked the photograph. And then he commented, and I commented back. He commented again, and
Facebook flirting,
right? and I didn't recognize him. He looked completely different in his pictures on Facebook than I remembered him from high school.
I love it, listeners. You can't, but I will tell you, she's blushing. It's really very cute and sweet. They both have these goofy grins on their faces, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah. So here I was, like feeling like I was back in high school, all giddy and goofy and butterflies and all that. And so then we started talking, and of course the obvious questions: what do you do? What have you been doing? Do you have kids? All that. And so then John's like, well, I own nightclubs. I'm thinking, okay, that's awesome. But then when we got a little deeper into the conversation, and he's like, well, I mean, they're nightclubs for couples.
Oh, I like that.
Okay. And then he's like, they're swingers clubs. I had nothing. There's like nothing. Other than there had been some rumors in the small town that I was in currently that one of my daughter's classmates' parents were swingers, and I remember feeling incredibly sorry for them. That poor couple, that they just can't, find the love for each other, that they have to seek it outside of the marriage, and it's just so sad. But then here I am talking to this guy that just sounds incredible. He seemed really Buddha to me. He's just like peaceful, really loved life. He was encouraging of me to love my life, which was like, whoa, wait, what? He kept asking me what I wanted to do, what things I liked, which I was like, I don't know that anybody's ever asked me that.
Oh, wow.
Right? Like, what do I like? Heck, I don't know.
Yeah, you probably...
What do I like?
Yeah, you hadn't asked yourself that either, probably.
So, we talked about threesomes, which that just seemed like so far outside the spectrum of anything I could ever even possibly imagine, that I was like, oh, yeah, sure, threesomes. He's like, well, I think we should make that happen.
Oh, it was so far out that you were like, yes? Because I'd have been like, are you crazy? Like, I can't do that.
Sure. Yeah, because I'm never thinking that's going to happen, right? So like, oh, yeah, we can fantasize about that. Sure.
Oh, that's funny.
And then he's like, well, I think we should make that happen. Wait, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, how did you handle that?
Make that happen? Months. It took me months.
Were you scared? Were you scared that it meant that you weren't enough for him?
It's funny that you would say that, because I didn't. That was never where my fear was coming from. My fear was coming from whether I thought I could handle it. Whether I thought I could handle it, or whether he was playing maybe some kind of trick on me. That if I agreed to do it, he'd be like, see, you're a slut. I knew it.
God, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I was
that
like,
nasty word.
Yes. So I had to kind of work myself through that process. But again, I'm 48 years old. I've been kind of taking care of people my entire adult life, and I was ready to kind of step outside of that box, like break out of the box, see how big it is. Could I get comfortable in something different? And so when I finally, this is after months and months, John would schedule something, I would cancel it.
Okay, well, wait a second. So during this time, this is months, you guys you're dating each other.
Yeah, we started talking. Then he called every night. 6 days later, he came from Tampa to Wichita. And then we were just kind of like dating. I think we were just kind of a thing.
Yeah, we were dating.
Were you exclusive?
No, because we agreed, since we were in separate states, that we would try playing with other people and see what it was like. And so Jackie got a date, and I got all excited about it, and that was...
Now, see, I could wrap my head around that, because even though we were dating, it felt like we were like not committed. Right? It was kind of like this open dating, and he was super okay with, I think you should go out with him and have a good time, which I was like so floored by that.
The opposite, kind of.
Yeah.
Like most girls, even like young people today, they're always like, oh my God, is he talking to other guys? Like, all this other stuff. Or is she talking to other guys?
Yeah, so he was doing completely the opposite of what I had expected. But I thought, okay, in my brain, it made more sense for me to go out with another guy without John being there, because then I didn't have to worry about his body language or any gestures or what I was doing. And then what was so bizarre is, like, I went on my first date. It's funny that the threesome would freak me out more than going on a date separate from John. But I went on the date, and then I came back, and then I'm calling him like he's a best friend, like, oh my God, it was so much fun. We did this. And he's like, you had fun? I think that's so awesome. Like, what was he like? And I'm just, my head is exploding, right? Because this is not how a relationship is supposed to be unfolding. I'm not supposed to be encouraged to, like, tap into sides of myself that I didn't even know were there. And so I think for a lot of the early months of our dating, I was just kind of feeding off that high.
Now, were you getting as high when he was going out?
I was. And you know
Really?
why? Again, I think it's because it was so bizarre to me. It was almost surreal. Like, it wasn't happening, but it was happening.
And there wasn't this idea or this fear that this is me, I get it, that, oh my God, he's going to find somebody better than me. He's going to like her better.
No, that came way, 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 way
later.
Way later, which
Okay.
is weird. You
Yeah,
would think it would be the opposite, that I would be more panicked when we're newly together, but it actually was the opposite. I got a little more panicked in some situations the longer we were together. And I think a lot of that has to do with how invested we are
Yeah,
in a relationship. The longer you're vested, the more there is to lose. When you're first together, there's not that much to lose. So I just was able to just kind of throw off the cloak of any fear and just have fun. I got to just focus on the fun, which was fun.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and that makes sense too, like from my perspective, because you not only are you not fully invested, so you can, in the back of your mind, well, if I don't like this, I can just jump out of the car, and if it goes off the bridge, I don't care.
Right.
But at the same time, after living, I'm not going to say repressed, but living, a life where you're in a committed relationship from the time you're 18 for what, 20 something years?
40.
Was
from
18 to 48.
Okay, so
30
years.
40.
Now you're finally getting to go, like, there's a part of your body or you're a part of your psyche that's like, I can go do whatever the hell I want. And like, this is something that I didn't get to experience when I was young. So I'm just going to do whatever. Like, I don't think it took, I'm not going to say it was not deep. Like, it wasn't a deep thought, but eventually it's any human. You leave somebody alone in a room for long enough, all of a sudden that voice starts talking to you, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be at a party full of 1 million people that you know. You could be sitting at a real funeral for yourself when you're not dead, and you leave somebody in a room long enough, they're going to go, oh, everybody hates me. They're only here to make sure I'm by myself. So I feel like your brain was so much on the holy crap, there's a whole world, like, I want, like, it's like walking into the chocolate factory where we're like, ooh, the flowers are edible and the gummy bears are edible and the river is fucking chocolate. Like, oh fuck, like, you don't even think about, like, oh shit, there's like 18,000 calories, I'm gonna get diabetes in 5 minutes.
I still
can
don't
eat
think about that.
everything. I need to test everything.
Yeah, I would dive into that river of chocolate in about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
so
you would.
that's where I was.
Yeah.
Right? It was all about this exploration into who I was. And that was so powerful at that time for me that it evaporated any fears that I had.
Yeah.
I just got to kind of be in that moment, which was, oh my God. It's almost like I wish I could figure out how I did that so I could continue to do that and not get so much in the future or in the past, but just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing right this second? And how much do I love it?
And the thing is, when we were doing that, we were still, so I felt like I was in a committed relationship. I'm not sure where she's coming from with that thing, because I was definitely in a committed relationship, even though this was going on, but it was stuff we did together. Even though we were in different states, we would talk about who we were going out with beforehand. Then we would talk about the experience afterwards. So it was still something we did as a couple. It wasn't just dating. I mean, I wasn't dating anybody else. I was just with Jackie.
Okay, what's the difference for you between dating and having sex with? Because you were going out with other people, which I guess means you were having sex with. So what's that difference for you?
So some of the women at that time that I was seeing, I mean, there probably wasn't in my mind a future with them. So it was really more of a dating to have sex with each other. from both
Right,
from both
right.
points of view.
Okay.
And Jackie, I saw a future with. She had been in 2 relationships longer than 10 years. One of them 17 years. My longest relationship was maybe 6 or 8 months good, and maybe another 6 months, 8 months where I was trying to break up with somebody.
Oh my gosh.
And so I saw
Talk
that
about
as
opposites.
maybe she'll stay with me for longer than 10 years.
Oh, that's so cute.
Did you have that feeling of like, okay, don't tell her that I see a future immediately in case like she's already been into this long, like maybe that's going to freak her out? Was that ever a thought of yours?
No, I don't really think about what other people think. I just say what I think.
Okay.
God, that's bliss.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
this is true.
I've tried telling you that. I don't give a shit about other people's feelings. That's why I say the shit I
Yes,
say.
you do.
I really don't.
Yes, you do.
I lay my head down on the pillow, and whatever I said that day goes right out. I don't care.
Yeah,
I
but
go
during
right
the
to
day
sleep.
You do. But that's okay. I say I'm trying not to care what people think, but
It's interesting. You know what really interests me is this aspect of you guys after your dates going and talking about your experiences to each other. Because, for example, like in the relationship I'm in now, and we've only been dating 6 months, but in past relationships, I think a lot of guys that I've dated kind of get turned on hearing about like past sexual stuff that you've done with other people. Not during when you were dating, but I think like it's this thing, and I kind of see where it comes from. Like I think it is something that would turn me on to listen to a past, like it has, you know, certain stories he has or I've had, you know, so I can see where, you know, that would, to me.
well, so that's a good question. When you were sharing these stories, was it actually just a turn on, or was it just informational? Like, did it sort of fuel your sexy together then, or independently?
It turns me on more than anything in the world. And I think a lot of men it does. And there's been some studies done. They had this couple. The guy comes in, he gives him a sperm sample. They count the sperm. Then he gets to watch his wife have sex with someone else another, week later. And they check his sperm count afterwards, and it's like 5 times as many sperm. It's the survival of the fittest. It's such a turn on to see her with someone else or to hear about it. It makes my palms sweat like right now. It drives me nuts. I love it.
Wait, but survival of the fittest that's a little bit of a competitive edge, so that there's this turn on and then this desire to conquer, i.e. produce more sperm.
So I think you absolutely get turned on so you're able to have the sex with your partner.
Yeah. That's interesting. I hadn't heard of that study. That's very cool. All right, what about you, Jackie? Did it turn you on to hear stories of him with somebody else?
It did. And again, you have to remember, I was coming into this relationship having no frame of reference for this. These were never conversations I was having with anybody, so especially not my other partners, my other husbands. We didn't ever talk about. You can't talk about that.
Yeah, and this starts with John. Who do you talk to about it anyway? I'm like, oh my gosh.
Right. So I can think of 2 instances just off the top of my head. One was when John was in Tampa, and he had invited this woman over who happened to be French. And he took his phone and he put it up on the headboard, and I listened. So I'm hearing her speaking in French, and I'm hearing the bed moving, and I'm hearing John making noises. And it's one of those, for me, it was one of those moments of almost where I have my hands over my face, but I'm moving my fingers out a little bit so I can peek through and see. It's like I'm not really supposed to be watching this, but yet I want to watch it. And the other one was a video that John had made with a past girlfriend of them having sex, and he had sent it to me. And again, it was one of those ones where I watched it through the cracks of my fingers 500,000 times.
Oh my God.
It was one of those kinds of things. It's like, wow, this is so weird, because like I'm watching the person that I love with this other person, but then yet it's just like I don't even know where to put it. I didn't even know where to put it then, other than that it was exciting in a way, because I think all of us, when we have a partner, we really want to know if other people find our partner attractive, right? But sometimes we can be in fear of that. So at that point in our relationship, seeing that was almost kind of like, yeah, I didn't do too bad this time.
So I like that. I know that in the past I've tried to explain, swinging, I use analogies. So I think of it like when people have a Ferrari. And I say, right, some guys are okay. They want to have a Ferrari and they just want to keep it covered in their garage and they can see it when they want. And that's great. Others want to go out and they want to drive all around town. They want everybody to be looking at them. Others want to park and they're like, hey, yeah, you can look. Oh, you want to sit in the front seat? I'll take a picture. Sure. And maybe they'll say, oh, you want to borrow it for a little bit? Okay, it's mine. Bring it back. Don't hurt it. And, tell me about it. So I think that's it. It's this idea that our partners, that we are proud of them and we are excited. We want other people to appreciate them and then send them home.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever taken it, like been in a relationship with someone, like have formed a like more of a polyamorous relationship from this kind of exploration?
Yes.
Is it something that's common or in general, or is it something, that you guys still practice, or is it just more, go with the flow, we'll see where this takes us kind of?
I think, for me, it seems like, being privy to so many clubs and being around so many people that identify as swinger, being poly is probably not as common because those people feel really protective of the relationship that they have, and they kind of like the partnership that they have, and they don't really want to them it's kind of like muddling the waters by introducing something else into that. We have fears about that, especially if we're raised under a construct that's really restrictive and really defines how we're supposed to see our partner or their role within the relationship or your role within the relationship. So that can be a pretty tough transition. And once you include another person into a relationship at that degree, at that level, it can surface emotions that maybe you didn't necessarily have in the relationship before because it was just the two of you. So there's some dynamics to poly that, while it can be done and very successfully done, and there are a lot of people within the lifestyle that do have those, it does take some determination and some tenacity, and you really have to open up even more those lines of communication and honesty and trust. And
so when it came into your life, when you found yourself not just having sex with other people, but having a more emotional connection with them, how did that affect your relationship? Did you go into that knowingly, or did you try to put a halt to it right away? What happened with y'all? If you're willing to share that with us.
Well, again, I think, whenever you're doing something new, you're not going to have the tools necessary because you're not going to know you need those tools.
Oh, yeah. You fuck things up. Of course. Yes. You're just like, yes. Everybody has to have permission to fuck things up. Yes.
Those after the fact moments, right? The hindsight 2020. If I had to do it over again, I would do this different, or I would know to do that. And so that's another part of those transitions. Anytime that you're changing up something, is to be empathetic towards yourself in knowing what you didn't know and that you're just doing what you're doing. While initially, when we got into this more kind of poly dynamic, it was like cannonball into the deep end. I mean, it was just like, yay, this is happening, because this is something we'd always talked about and something that we believe in, that yes, of course you're going to form emotional attachments to other people. I mean, it's silly to think that you're not going to.
And what I love about the cannonball example is that with every cannonball, there's a big splash, right? It it doesn't always stay just contained, right? So I expect you had to do some quick learning, heavy lifting, and cleaning up.
Yeah. Oh, I'm being gestured by John to continue on. So anyway, when we initially started, and I guess I should preference, this was with a woman. So it was a relationship that John was forming, and I was really excited about it. Really like her. She wasn't kind of flighty, or John's had a lot of dates. I've had a lot of dates. We've engaged with a lot of people, and This one was different. She was a little more mature. She was in a marriage. She seemed, super nice. I liked her, which I thought was just a bonus. That's great. And John really seemed to like her as well, and she seemed to like John. And initially, the relationship was kind of far and few between, with their contact. And then I'm not really sure, like, what the tipping point was, but they started seeing each other more and more often. And I keep a diary, right? So for the last 9 years, every day I get up and I write in this. So it's easy for me to go back and look at that line, right?
Oh, wow.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah. When conversations started coming up about, maybe she's beginning to have a label. Maybe she's beginning to have a girlfriend label. Again, this was kind of a giddy part of that transition. It's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be really cool. Like, you've got this friend that you can just contact whenever you need to, and then I can talk to her and we can just have this thing, and it's just going to be super fun.
Yay,
right? And I'm one of these people that I just really, like, I'm just full on running into it. I'm excited about it. I want to learn about it. I want to do whatever I need to do.
And so where did it change?
I think when it started to become, when it started to invade our space. Because here's the thing that you don't think about. When you're in with your partner, right, you have this clock. So there's this amount of time that you're kind of used to spending with them.
Yeah.
And you're kind of nestled into that. And you understand that when you meet somebody new, there's this new relationship energy, this NRE that you hear talked about. And so you understand that there's going to be this desire to spend time with this other person.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is great when you're the person who has that NRE.
Right.
It's not so much fun when you're the other one going, my life is still the same, and hello.
and now there's, you feel that distance.
Right.
So
it feels like a loss, I'm imagining.
It feels like a loss. And nobody's saying that's actually taking place, or that somebody's feelings are changing towards you, or that the relationship is changing.
Yeah, but that's why feelings are feelings, not facts.
Right. So that doesn't matter, because then all of a sudden, and so I think that's what started happening with me. And again, it's not having a frame of reference and not understanding even how to talk about boundaries, or how to talk about that time frame, or how to voice my opinion, because I tend to be, again, from the way I was raised, a yes person.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure, it's gonna be fine. I think of Monty Python. It's just the flesh wound.
I say that all the time. I love it. So did you start freaking out?
I did.
Good.
And it was
I'm glad to hear
spectacular.
this, right? Because it's normal. People somehow think that swingers or whatever, or if you're kinky, that somehow you're different. But the fact is, we all are human, and when shit happens and we feel lost, or we feel fear, or any of these things, we do freak out. And you're still here, and that's the important part, is that you can freak out about this shit, have it go wrong.
Yeah.
No matter I don't know if this was a terrible, big, huge wrong, or just a little bit and stuff. But anyway, so I like that. All right, so you freaked out, and then what happened? How did you handle it, John?
I mean, Jackie would freak out. We'd talk about it, and then she would say, I need to work through my fears, so let's keep going. And we talked about changing some things along the way, but it wasn't working for her, and so we decided to just stop and take a step back and really focus on ourselves internally and ourselves as a couple.
Wow. And did you have any resentment, or were you angry, or like kind of pissy that, hey, we agreed this was going to be open and now I'm not getting to do everything I want to do?
I wasn't resentful because I wasn't able to do what I want to do, but there were some resentments there. There aren't anymore. As a matter of fact, this morning I told Jackie, I do not resent you for anything that happened in that period.
Aw, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't. And it is, like you're saying, it's a process we have to go through sometimes. And I see things like that as it's something that happened that brought each of us to where we are today, to maybe motivate us to do some things for ourselves, and to work on ourselves and make some changes that will help us have a better relationship and with ourselves, a better relationship with ourselves in the future.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I think it's a relationship with ourselves always that affects every other relationship we have. We just don't like it. Again, the insecurities I carry affect every other relationship I have in life. That's just
they're the hardest thing to look at and to accept and to change.
Yeah, but and then I think what we also somehow lose is this idea that, again, as your relationship goes deeper, as you spend more time together, as the years accrue, you start sort of peeling off. That person gets under more and more and more layers, and under every layer is more shit that we didn't know about, right? We didn't know. You had no idea that you would freak out about this.
No.
Someone had no idea, right?
Which was a shock, right? So, because you think you're floating along at this level, and then all of a sudden, it's like somebody pulls the floor out from under you, and you're like, why am I falling? What is happening? And so it was really frustrating, because I'm like, I've been fine up until this. What is causing me to feel like I'm just flailing around, right? And it was going on and on and on. I'm like, okay, there's something deeper going on. And that's, even though it doesn't sound like on the surface that it's a benefit that you go through that, but it is a benefit when you go through that, because it does put you in touch with maybe things that you've kind of shoved down in there, and you got them like nestled, and you think they're like down in the basement. And then, there was this flood, and it just got brought up to the first floor.
Yeah, because every relationship that you've had in the past has reached a certain point and ended. But that doesn't mean it's reached the end of where you are, right? We are deep. We are endless like the ocean. Each and every one of us is. So,
right.
If you're going to keep growing, I think you're going to keep discovering and have those, oh, shit moments. And that's okay.
So one thing I am really noticing about you guys is and a really important thing about this lifestyle you guys talk about more and more, is you guys have, or seem to have, very good communication. So, and you seem to talk about the things that worry you or upset you. So I would say, for people who are thinking about going into this lifestyle, what would you recommend as some really key things that couples, or whatever your situation is, should consider and should think about and should keep in mind and practice, so that it's a healthy way to continue?
Well, number one is what you said, communication. Right. I think it's just you can't have any relationship, a good one anyway, unless you communicate well with each other. I think the foundation of our relationship from the very beginning, it's really, really important to me, is honesty and trust. And Jackie's never broken that with me all these years. It's just really, really strong. And I think that's important. Sometimes couples they'll think getting into this kind of more of an open relationship or swinger relationship will help their broken relationship. And it never helps a broken relationship. It will magnify the things that are wrong with it and make it that much more difficult. So it's important to have that strong foundation.
I think that's really important, because, again, the tendency for people on the outside to look in is to say, oh, look, see, they tried swinging and then they broke up. It didn't work. And they want to say, oh, that's why people shouldn't swing. And I think, John, that you're right. The people that I've seen, so many of them start with a not healthy relationship, and they're looking for a new kid, a new dog, a vacation, a new house, a new job, swinging, whatever it is, to sort of fix, mask, hide a relationship. And swinging, thank you. So that will kind of bring it out and burn it to the ground pretty quickly, I think, huh?
Yes, it does. And maybe that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as swinging doesn't get the bad rap for it.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. And then as far as tools, I think the number one thing to do with a couple that's thinking about getting into it is to set boundaries. Because that's what we see where couples will have difficulties in the beginning, is if they don't set we suggest writing them down, for that matter, and being very, very specific. Time boundaries, that can be an issue. Like in the BDSM lifestyle, you have you have codes to say when it's time to stop. And the same thing within our lifestyle. If something's making me uncomfortable, Jackie knows if I pull her left earlobe and say banana, that I'm done. And so, you have those kind of little tricks that you share between as a couple to help you through the times when you become uncomfortable.
And are you okay with her dating and having sex with anybody she wants, or do you each have sort of veto power over who the other one engages with?
I am 100%. Whatever she wants to do, she doesn't have to check with me. All I want to know is after the fact.
Yeah, it's super frustrating.
Okay, why is it frustrating?
It was frustrating to me because I felt like, how come I can't be at the same level at that? Like, how come he's just like, do whatever you want. I don't care. I love you no matter what. And then he goes and does something, and I'm like, what are you doing? But, I'm falling apart. Why am I falling apart? I'm falling. And, and so
thank you for being so honest again about that. It just, it's so helpful.
So I have to, I had to remind myself that it wasn't so much about what we were doing. It's about where we were, like mentally, emotionally. So I realized that there were some things about me that needed some attention, and I had been conveniently ignoring them. But like I said, sometimes when you're in this kind of a relationship model, because it's fostered so much on honesty and trust and openness, if you're not being those things with yourself, guess what? It's going to surface, and you're going to have to be forced to look at those things. And that's a good thing, because, now that I'm learning more things about myself, it's going to be the next time that we engage in something like that, I'm going to be able to come from a much more holistic place, a much more calm place, because I'm going to feel the support from myself.
And when you're nervous about something, do you have a way of, or is it, quote, okay to say, John, I'm not there yet. Could you just slow down? Or I'm not ready for that. Like, can you say no? Give me time to catch up, or just hell no, I'm not willing, wanting, etc.
I think I'm getting better about that now, but my tendency, and here's my tendency, if I don't have a frame of reference for something, or if I haven't done it, I lean more towards, I just don't have enough information to be able to even have an educated opinion about it. So if I falter once, I have to get back up. I'm really great about getting in the arena. I will get bloodied, and I will throw myself against that wall and be like, no, it's okay, I got it, I can do this, I can do it. At some point I have to tell myself, okay, so you don't have this, and it's okay. It's okay that you don't have this right now. Give yourself the opportunity to get some tools so that you can handle it. Because here's the problem. When we try to force ourselves into something that we're not ready for, we don't just end up hurting ourselves. We hurt everybody else that's involved. And then we have to go do cleanup on aisle 5 for all kinds of crap.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that would be kind of key, is that people would have to be able to say no.
Right.
And I'm not very good at that in life either. So
right. Yeah, because I'm not sure. Is this really a no, or is this just a no because I don't have enough information?
Yeah. And in BDSM, in the kinky world, that we'd say there are hard limits that mean, hell no, not doing, and soft limits meaning I'm not really sure. Let's, circumstances depend. And I think that's okay to sort of categorize, and we can always you can always recategorize things.
Well, I think we should
that's
be.
Important.
I think we should be. I think, definitely we're going to have hard no's in life. If somebody tells you to jump off a mountain, I think most of us are going to have a hard no. But I think there's other things in life.
You hear those Darwin Awards every year. I'm thinking not enough people, but that would make sense.
But then I think there's so much in life that should be fluid. We should be growing. We shouldn't just be so stuck in what we like or don't like that we don't ever move from that.
Right. No, that's not good.
Yeah. And it's also important, we don't have to do it alone. And so I think for people out there, if you're struggling with something, it might be something within you deep down that maybe someone professional can help get to the core of what that is. And that's when we really start making change within ourselves. A lot of times that's to do with self-love. Self-esteem is a big issue in the lifestyle, and just in general, people you struggle with that all the time. And I've seen therapists many times over the years after breakups because I felt like a piece of crap. Yeah. And finally, a therapist was able to reach something in my core that I was struggling with, and it really helped me turn my life around and not feel so small.
I love that. Like when I got divorced, I said I felt like I'd been walking around for 23 years with toilet paper sticking out of my skirt. Like I didn't see it, right? You need somebody else to help you see, because you are not seeing everything in the world. You're not seeing everything in you. An extra set of eyes absolutely makes all the difference in the world. And especially for couples, if you're thinking about joining lifestyle, if you're thinking about expanding your boundaries in any way, whether it's at work or anything. Like, we need help. We need mentors. We need places where we can go for trusted, respected advice and guidance.
Well, and the other thing, John talks about his sobriety, and I don't drink either. So the entire time I've been in the lifestyle, I've been super conscious, right? There's never been a moment that I can blame it on anything, right? And so the whole goal that John and I have always had is to create the best relationship that we can, to create the best us that we can, and to be the best individuals that we can. And I love that. I love that that's our path in this.
Aw, that's beautiful. And it makes you tear up, which is good. Like, that's how you know that's really from the heart.
I have like a very deep respect for your guys' relationship. Like, we have interviewed lots of people, obviously talked to lots of different people, but rarely have I seen in even in like a straight monogamous relationship, such a deep connection, really. So like true honesty, and I think what you guys are doing, quite frankly, is hard. I think that you guys are taking it's a hard path. It's really, I don't know if I would be able to do it, and especially would have a huge or very steep learning curve for me, So I think the place that you guys have gotten to is really commendable to me. So
yeah, it is. It is a hard path, because I think society-wise, religion-wise, government-wise, I mean, there's a lot of bricks that are being built around something to be kind of oppressive. And so to do something like this, it does feel, at times like, oh, I'm not supposed to be doing this because, I'm such an outsider. I'm not getting this public support for what I'm doing. And so, we can end up feeling as though we're going against the grain, or we're going against something. But what I find so interesting is the studies that they do now that showcase the percentage of the population that not only are already in this, but would consider it, is astounding. It's well over 50%.
Oh, the threesome fantasies are like, 95%, 85%, and something crazy for men and women. And then the numbers who have done them, super, very, very, very common. So,
yeah. So you have to stop and think, like, where is this pressure coming from, and why are we falling prey to it, if this isn't really how most of us are thinking, and how much is nature versus nurture.
Well, I think it just goes along with this whole idea that that most of us grow up with, that you'll meet the quote perfect person and they're going to heal you. They're going to fill you.
Yes. And we'll be one.
And we'll be one. And that is absolutely not the case. And I say, again, in my head, my heart, two different things, but in my head, I understand that being monogamous with sex is like telling me I can only have one female friend. Like, I can't. My female friends are all so different and diverse, and I would be lost without each of them filling in their spot. So I understand that it's the same thing with that, our romantic relationships, but it's really hard to do and to do it well. So I think Tina's right. It's just to see happy relationships of whatever sort that are truly focused on both people's happiness. That's huge.
Yeah. And trying to pull away from comparison, right? So, we all do it. Yeah. Like, oh, you like them better. Yeah. You like them, she's got better hair, or I have worse hips, or I have it's always like a gauge of where we are. And we create this really fragile relationship, really, when you step back and look at it. And that's what pissed me off so much about this poly thing is I made our relationship fragile, introducing this other person into it.
Yes, but I think that most people, even in monogamous relationships, they just have all these things that you talk about, and I think that with you guys and being in this lifestyle, you have to confront them, whereas a lot of people end up not.
That's right.
And I'm so guilty of this. Like, I'm very jealous of you guys, if you can't tell, because like, I think one of the big things in my past is like communication. Like, I really have not been in a relationship like yours, and I would like to, but there are so many things that stop us from confronting, these issues, whether that's society or your own insecurities and stuff. So
right.
And it's hard to just acknowledge, oh shit, my feelings are hurt. Because we want to say, oh, it's your fault. Right?
Well, can you imagine?
We want to blame somebody else, but it's just like, oh, we're hurt and that feels bad to us.
Yeah. Can you imagine being encouraged by your partner to be your best self?
No, honestly, like,
right?
No.
Yeah, to say, oh, I think that guy's super hot. And you're like, you're right. I think he's super hot too.
Yeah.
Maybe you should call him up. You'd be like, what?
No, I would literally, I probably like, I don't know what I would do. I'd think it was a joke. I'd be like, oh my God, no way. You know? So.
Okay, but then, so me though, one thing, again, I put my heart, like I say, I fall in love with everybody that walks into my life. That's my instinct. So how do you then basically have sex with people and not have this desire to want to maintain contact and stuff going forward?
Well, there have definitely been people I've had sex with I don't have any feelings for, the deep feelings like that. And then there have been some where you start to feel those things. So I think it just really depends upon the connection between the two people. And if there's really not that, that chemistry there that we get, if there's not that chemistry, then I can just have sex and I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah. I probably lean more the other way. And again, I don't know if that's like a nature versus nurture kind of thing.
So which way do you lean?
Where I very seldom do I form any kind of an emotional attachment.
She's like a man.
Really? Okay.
And I don't know if that's, again, this is me trying to analyze myself, whether it's just something that I'm doing to protect myself because of how I was taught, or if that's just how I am. Like, I don't need that connection.
Aaron, what would you be like if your wife somehow decided that it was okay that y'all could explore a little bit? Do you think would you be able to just have sex and just kind of then keep it in that realm, or would you develop feelings?
No, I'm a feelings person. Like, I don't know even if I were single, I'd be able to just go running through hoes, basically.
Ooh, okay, now wait a second though. But see, isn't that so funny? So see how immediately like vernacular turns into putting them down, right?
That's not putting them down.
Well, yeah, because you're sort of calling the people that would just basically sport fuck you hoes, which is interesting.
Again, I've told you.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. And you are so open minded, and I know you love me.
Make you a hoe yourself?
Yeah, it does. But then again, that's why I'm not that type where I would need an actual emotional or some other type of connection, not just like, hey, I need an orgasm and you're the closest thing that's got their legs open. Cool, let's do it. That's just not who I am.
Something, yeah. So okay, and that's the thing. So there are men who want emotion attached with sex. There are women who want sex without emotion, and everything in between. So maybe we don't have to judge or whatever. We just have to know, hey, this is who I am, and that's just okay.
And also to preface, though, you never really did that. Like, so you don't really know. Like,
well, but if he knew, if he was into that, he probably would have, right? Because there were a lot of people that were just going around.
Yeah, I had
having sex with
opportunities.
different people, right?
And that's the thing, is that I had the opportunities, but it was always okay, am I doing this because I feel an actual connection to you, or am I going to, like, is that post-nut clarity going to kick in and I'm going to be like, why the fuck did I do, like, that was useless. Like,
yeah. Well, and I get it, because I've tried to do some sport fucking and I just don't, quite frankly. Like, if I'm going to have sexy with somebody, maybe I don't want to fall in love with them, but I'm telling you, every fiber of my being wants them to fall in love with me too. There is just that. It's weird. I'm not thrilled with it. That's just, again, I've had to come to accept this. So,
and I don't consider myself a hoe, but there was a time I would have sex with 2 or 3 women in one day. I just thought it was fun. I mean, I felt they felt the same way. I really looked at it in a different way. I never had that thought put in my mind that to have sex with someone you have to have feelings. It was the other way around. Sex was just like kissing or hugging or holding hands. It was just another aspect of being human. And the feelings sometimes would happen, but many, many times they didn't. And I mean, I back when I was, many years ago, I had a lot of friends, and we'd have sex with each other occasionally. We had feelings of friendship, but that's as far as it went when it came to feelings.
Yeah, and it may just be that I haven't found anybody that I've particularly cared to have any kind of a connection with. I don't know.
I don't know, but again, life, hopefully, knock on wood, is long. And my guess is you're going to have something that you're going to go, shit, I never had this before. What do I do?
Why am I falling?
Yes, that's it. So it'll be an adventure. We'll want to hear about that too. So, all right, so the voyeur in me wants to know. So now you're 9 years in. Would you guys do you like watching each other have sex? Or would you rather just hear about it afterwards?
I can do both.
What's your favorite?
My favorite is watching.
Watching him? Mm-hmm. And what about when it comes to you doing? Do you get any turn on from him watching, or do you just want to tell him about it? Or are you neutral?
I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we came to a point. Remember, we talked about that, and we were having sex with couples at a time, and I was paying attention to you, make sure you were having a good time, and you were paying attention to me, and that became kind of an issue, because if she wasn't having a good time, then me, it wasn't working as well anymore. And so then we'd have to, we would get back together at that point. And so I think there was
That's so nice.
Yeah, I think there was a time we decided, let's not pay attention to each other.
And you have to understand too that John and I, we don't fit that original definition that John gave about swingers as far as being with other couples. It was really hard for us to find another couple, that dynamic of all those people. And so most of our play was John with a woman, or me with a guy, or me and John with a one. There was either threesomes or individual stuff, but we would watch from
That's true.
From other places. So that was kind of how we operated. It was only when we were operating with another couple that we were like, okay, I can't watch you, because if I'm watching you, then I just want to stop what I'm doing and watch you.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. That's how I feel about 69. It's just I want to concentrate on one thing at a time. I'm
right?
sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing too. There's so much that's talked about when we're talking about sex, that when you're actually in the midst of doing it or in the middle of it, so much of that talk you realize is just talk. Because like you said, in a 69, you can't. Nobody's really concentrating on, or they're faking. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. There's just too much going on.
Just too much.
Everything gets diminished at that point, I think. But, all right. Do you guys have questions?
I would say my last question, if I don't want to pry too much into your family, but just do you talk about this openly with your kids and stuff like that? They know.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Our family. My family's known for a long time because I've been in the press, and that's how it started actually. And then Jackie she didn't realize there was anything taboo about it. So when we got together, I remember we were in her car. I was going to meet her mom for the first time. And I'm like, oh my God, what's your mom going to do when she finds out that I own swingers clubs? And Jackie's like, I already told her. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? You told your mom. It's just.
I love that.
She just didn't think anything about it. And today, we were talking before we went on air how all of our family calls us for advice on relationships and sex, and they're very, very open. Our kids are very open about their sexuality.
Very open.
I think most parents would be like, no, I don't want to hear that kind of a thing.
Not Beth. It was the coolest thing. When she was, we had a relationship before this podcast. I'd never really met a parent figure who talked about sex to kids like Beth talked to kids about, adults. She literally
yeah. I think it's important. You should have as many tools in your toolbox as possible so that you are empowered. Otherwise you're just I don't know what to, you're going to feel like how I felt. Yes. I didn't have anybody to tell me anything. So when John and I got together, I had raised my kids the way I raised them. And so I took them aside and I said, look, I need to tell you that I raised you the way I raised you because that's the only thing I knew. But I've learned something different. I've learned something massively different, that it's way more important for you to form whatever relationship model that you want. You have control over. You don't have to just fall in line with the rest of everybody. You get to be in control of that. And everybody was like, cool.
Yeah, that's amazing that they were so chill with you and stuff. But yeah, I love it. And one of the things, you have done major press. You were on with Lisa Ling on that show, which I thought was spectacular. And for anybody who's interested, we'll put that link in the show notes. because Lisa Ling went with y'all to a big conference, Naughty in New Orleans, and I thought she did a great job of showing people what it's like, even from just the outside. And clearly she was nervous and uptight and stuff, and that was so okay by me. But and y'all were fabulous there. But so everybody knows about y'all.
It's funny that you would bring up Lisa Ling because while I agree that they did a great job with the program, what was most impactful to me was the crew, right, that followed us around for a week. The impact our relationship had on the crew. Yeah. Well, how many of them were like, I can't wait to get home to my wife and we're going to start communicating.
Yes, because they'd never seen. That's the thing. We have to actually see things to think that we want them.
Right.
Aw.
Yeah. So that was cool.
I think that's beautiful. All right. Any other questions, Aaron?
No, I'm tapped out.
Okay. Anything else y'all want to tell people about your relationship? If they're, again, thinking about swinging or having whatever other ideas, anything else you want to tell people?
No, but if you're interested in our lifestyle, you can definitely go to openlove101.com and watch some of our videos on our YouTube channel. And if you want to get into more depth, you're welcome to reach out to us and talk to us personally.
That's fantastic. Okay, so they can find you at ColetteClubs.com, and that's COLETTE clubs.com. And again, we'll put that in the show links, as well as openlove101.com.
That's it. You can
All
reach
right.
us each place.
Perfect. All right. This is wonderful. And yeah, you do. I appreciate that Tina's impressed and stuff too, because, I don't generally swing, and I've never been involved with a couple, but one of the first few times I met y'all and I watched the Lisa Ling thing, I'm pretty sure I texted John. I was like, okay, if I was going to be with a couple, I'd want to be with y'all. Seriously, right? I just wanted to be part of that love. And because it's beautiful.
Thanks for that, Beth.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, folks. Again, I'm Beth Darling, your sexy genius from sexyedschool.com. Please, Aaron, tell them how they can connect with us.
Yeah, you can find us on social media. We're all over the place. Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, that's the other one. At Come With Us Podcast. On Twitter, at Come With Us Pod. DMs are open on all three of those. Or questions you have about swinging, we'll be sure. I mean, you three have a friendly relationship, so if they have questions, I'm pretty sure if they email us, Beth will forward them to y'all if that's cool with you guys.
Of course, that'd be great.
comewithusconfessions@gmail.com. That's comewithusconfessions@gmail.com. Any thoughts you have about swinging, about any of it? I mean,
your stories, your experiences, your intrigue, etc. So,
yeah.
And then stay tuned, because we're going to do our next episode. We are actually going to talk about swingers clubs. We're going to go take a little tour of Colette Clubs in Houston, and come back and talk about what it might be like, the etiquette, what you might expect, and what's okay and what's not okay in swingers.
So that'll be all next week that you can catch all that stuff. So this is a good primer. And I mean, shit, if you're in a relationship and you're thinking about it, maybe make your significant other listen to this relationship, and then by the time they get through with it, it'll be okay. Now there's a whole tutorial on swingers clubs and etiquette and all that stuff that'll drop next week for you.
Perfect. All right. Thanks so much for being here with us, John and Jackie. Thank you. It's a pleasure as always. And thanks, Aaron and Tina, for being here with me, and for everybody out there. So many big hugs and love. And again, just do you and be your best self. Everything else will flow from there. Big hugs.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Come With Us podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media at Come With Us Podcast, and send in your questions, comments, and confessions to comewithusconfessions@gmail.com. Until next time, keep it fun, flirty, and naughty.